Chains rattle broken, now we rise. Flag in my hand starts burning the skies. Truth ain't dead, though the liars try. They scream loud, but the words all die. Guys watching hands, raise to the throne. Freedom ain't free. Blood built this home. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Red, white, blue, we bleed to survive. God bless the brave who fight and strive. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Land of the free, ain't bending the knee. Truth in my veins, it's all I see. Patriots roar, no fear in the fight. Continue freedom, stand in the light.
And we are live. Thank you guys so much for being here. Truly appreciate it. Feel free to fire it up down in the chat as you always do. I want to welcome back all our returning guests. I want to welcome any new folks. Feel free, if you enjoy the content, to go ahead and hit all the important buttons down below. Helps the channel, helps us grow. So we're going to talk tonight about this rumor that was spreading around about this 5-year-old kid and that was detained by ICE. And the story is interesting, not in, necessarily around what happened with the kid, but how the mainstream media will latch onto something, run with it, even though they have all the same access to information that we do. And in this vast media space that exists, it should be easy for them to figure out what's actually going on, find out what the truth is, and then report it to the people. It's not what they do. I sometimes feel like this is, North Korea or something, that we're just getting that state-sponsored media from a lot of outlets. But we're going to talk about a couple that have actually reported it properly. Let's go ahead and get into it. When you do a Google search on this, and this was trending for a while, this is what you get. This is what I pulled out of my Google search. So I'm not looking at, I look at left-wing media, but I'm a conservative guy. They've got plenty of voice prints to know exactly what I talk about, exactly what I'm looking at. But this is the sort of I guess you would say, revision that you get, or propaganda that you get. It's like Pravda. So ICE detained a 5-year-old father and son in Minnesota. Lawyers say 5-year-old asylum seeker, so not illegal immigrant, just an asylum seeker, detained as ICE expands enforcement in Minnesota. A preschooler was taken away by ICE, says CNN. And we know, you could easily find out, I could, that this was false. It was a false narrative. And here we go. This was from the AP. So the AP says federal officers detained a 5-year-old boy who a school official said was used as bait, and then people ran with it. I just through a quick search on X, you could find all the rhetoric going on around this articles like this. So whether it's CNN, MSNBC, I was going to say CBS, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, since Barry Weiss has taken over, is actually doing a fairly decent job. But they just parrot it. They parrot it without knowing all the facts. And it should be no surprise to any of us that the school teachers are the ones who are helping build this false narrative, because, as was reported by, let's see, here we go. Up in New York, the teachers union plans a solidarity march with Minneapolis demanding ICE agents leave the city. So again, people buy into this stuff. They buy into it hook, line, and sinker, and they're spurred on by the very people who should be educating our kids and should be, but no, instead they're like, no, ICE. Let's just go out here and protest ICE, because that's a valuable use of our time. How about our crappy education system, teachers union? How about you deal with that as opposed to going out and marching against ICE? Let's listen to a couple of clips. How about that? So we've got Abby Phillip, everybody's favorite commentator. And I find it funny, I talk about, this doesn't have Scott Jennings in it, but when Scott Jennings is on her panel, it is just fodder for people like myself. Like, I love hearing Scott Jennings just wreck the folks on her panel. And not that it's all that difficult to do, but here we go. Listen to this.
That they were being directed to just arrest everybody in that courthouse, including people who were following the rules. And then when a child gets swept up in that, I think that also seems to people to be unnecessary cruelty. That rather than just shoving that kid in the car, shouldn't the ICE officers have done everything in their power to try to figure out where that child can go outside of detention?
Right, and they did. They tried to give the child back to the mother, who reportedly refused. They also didn't shove the child into the car. That child was abandoned by his parents, and they treated him
A lot of what you're saying is.
How come when I
indecent,
talk, I keep getting cut off? They treated him with decency. Second of all, even though they came here vis-a-vis the asylum process, according to the Legal Aid Society, federal immigration law permits the arrest and detention of most non-citizens, including those who are actively seeking asylum. So it's not like this is some kind of like random policy they're putting in. And you said that we're being governed by people who don't or who hate a certain group of people. We're being governed by a government that actually loves the people of America. It loves her sovereignty. We are a nation of laws. Our immigration laws were duly enacted by Republicans and Democrats. If you don't like them, that's okay. But then you should go out and either elect a different representative to change those laws, or you should go and petition your government at the office.
Great rundown of I mean, how can you say it any better? But she, Abby Phillip, she builds that narrative by it's the language, right? So the language is they shove this kid into the back of the car as if they did something. We're going to get to the official statement from ICE, but she words it as if they shoved this kid in the back of the car. They're just a bunch of ruthless savages, and I think she truly believes that, because individuals in the mainstream media, they're in a bubble. At least they act this way. I'm not in the mainstream media, quite obviously. I'm doing an internet show. But, they act as though they're in a bubble, and they can't process any information that violates their preconceived notions, that they can't look at anything objectively. And we're the ones who suffer, because it should be the news outlets reporting it like CBS did. CBS, since Barry Weiss has taken over, they actually had a legitimate headline. 5-year-old taken into custody by ICE has an active immigration case preventing deportation for now. So look, this kind of sums it up in a headline, and we're in a headline culture. Headlines are important. And how they, I showed you early on these other headlines from people like CNN, ABC, MSNBC. They're going to add their spin. They add their narrative to it to try to get that headline culture pushing in their direction, right? Hey, Day, welcome to the show. Okay, let's go to, actually, let me play a couple more here. So here is, Let me pull up the right clip. Come on, X, work. Is this the right one? Yeah, here we go. Oh, no, never mind. That's not the one I wanted to play. Sorry, bear with me. Just one moment. Okay, let's go ahead and do the official ICE one next. My notes are a little out of order. Apologies. Here we go. Let's play it and hear the actual story. What actually happened?
Targeted enforcement operation to arrest Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, an illegal alien who was released back into the interior of the United States by the previous administration. When officers approached Conejo Arias, he and his child were in a vehicle. Arias fled from law enforcement on foot, abandoning his child in the middle of winter in a vehicle. One of our officers stayed behind with that child while other officers apprehended his father. After conducting the arrest, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of. Again, my officers did that, not his father. My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door. Let me say it again. They saw the young boy and they refused to open the door and take him back. This is the human side of the job that my officers do. They are family men and women. They have children of their own. They sacrifice everything for their families. I know for a fact that they were heartbroken to see the child's own family leave him behind. Fortunately, Conejo Arias eventually requested that his child stay with him. We do everything in our power not to separate families. So they took him back together to Minneapolis, here to the city, to the ICE facility for processing, and now they are being well cared for at a family residential center, pending their immigration proceedings. This is the real face of ICE, ERO, Border Patrol, and our allied partners. The media doesn't know our officers, we do. My officers do the right thing no matter how difficult or how long it takes throughout the day.
And this is the human side that the left, this is why they have to dehumanize every ICE agent. It's why they dehumanize people on the right. They dehumanize conservatives. That's part of their MO. It's so much easier to lash out, fight, beat, just wreck the lives of people who are fascists, who are Nazis, who are this, who are that, who are subhuman, as a lot of them will say. And this is they don't take into account that these ICE people, they're going to go home and they're going to hug their kids. They're family parents or family people. Not all of them, but I'm sure a lot of them are. There is a human side to it, but in order to wreak havoc and chaos on a country, you have to dehumanize the people who are enforcing the law. That's how you get a lawless society. And this is what's happened. And by the way, the J.D. Vance, he had a comment about it, but I have to show you the facility. This is the horrendous conditions that this kid was put into. Horrendous conditions. Look at the school that this kid has access to. There's cities in America who don't have access to this level of education, who don't have access to this level of facilities. Yeah, it's a real concentration camp there. Yeah, horrible, horrible conditions. Look, this is another piece of it. Not just dehumanizing ICE, dehumanizing people on the right who are like myself, who are for the deportation of these people. We're going to play clips. I've played boatloads of clips on this show, highlighting the violence of, coming from the people that we're actually deporting. But it's another piece of dehumanizing it is, saying, using words like concentration camps. It's ridiculous. The guy with the beard that I was playing yesterday that was recently arrested, who barged into the church with Don Lemon, that's the same language that he used. Use that violent language. This is what all the socialists do, the rabid socialists like that guy. J.D. Vance, he had a comment. Let's play his, and then we're going to get to a little bit more of this.
Agents detaining a 5-year-old after preschool on Tuesday. We've also seen multiple American citizens detained by ICE or harassed by ICE.
Their video is
6 weeks. Are you proud of how your administration?
Their video is the one that's choppy, by the way, not mine.
Is conducting this immigration crackdown here in Minnesota right now?
Well, I'm proud of the fact that we're standing behind law enforcement, and I'm proud of the fact that we're enforcing the country's laws. But, you asked a question about this 5-year-old kid. I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien. And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America? If the argument is that you can't arrest people who have violated our laws because they have children, then every single parent is going to be completely given immunity from ever being the subject of law enforcement. That doesn't make any sense. No one thinks that makes any sense.
And this is the same case that Tom Homan made quite a while back when he was being asked about deportations. This was when he was testifying in Congress. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but he was saying that, yeah, in America, if you're arrested by the police for DUI and you have a kid in the car, you're going to be separated from that kid. In this instance, they have the option for that kid to stay with the father, and when they approached the mother, she wouldn't take the kid. So the father abandoned this child. Said, my life, my access to all the accoutrements of America is far more important than my 5-year-old kid. leaves the kid in the car, runs from ICE, and then they're blaming ICE as if they are the bad guy, shaping the narrative. We see the dishonesty, and this is when we talk to our friends about this, and I have to explain it. It's almost like somebody watches a TV show, or not a TV show, but they watch a news network, and they have CNN turned on just because it's the most trusted name in news. They still live in that world where they think it's the most trusted name in news. And I'm constantly having to debunk things. Like, look, that's not how this actually happened, is what you say. Well, no, this is what they said. I heard Abby Phillips say, or I heard the Cuomo's say, or I heard whoever say. Then you go through the whole process. Okay, let me debunk this for you, my friend. This is not the way it actually happened. And this is how the left works. They keep us on our toes, on our heels, rather. They keep us on our heels where we're constantly putting out the actual narrative. By that time, they've moved on to the next narrative, to the next lie. And it's when you're on the defensive, it's kind of like the example, the first person to release the story, or the first person to make an accusation is true. Kind of like the guy who's the one that Candace Owens had on. And none of this stuff was public, but he went on her show and started accusing his wife of all these things. And when the wife gets on and says, no, that's not the way this happened, and she gives her side of the story, she looks like she's on the defensive. The other guy looks more credible, even though the other guy is full of crap. So the media does this with us in our day-to-day lives, constantly feeding us bad information. We have to go back and tell people, no, that's not actually what happened. And then we get in that cycle of just it's defending the truth is what we are doing. So I know you guys feel the frustration with it. I feel the frustration with it. But we have to be prepared for it. And that's why I do this show, right? To highlight these things so that people have information. Look, this isn't actually, it's reported on all the major news outlets, but it's a lie. It was false. Was the kid detained? Yes, the kid is with his father in a facility because they had an order of removal. But to say that they pitch it as though he just popped in and snatched a kid off the streets, such a lie. And they ask, there's one guy, he was on this same panel, the same CNN panel, and he was asking, I say the same one, the one I was playing just a minute ago, and he was asking, is all of this worth it? And the same lady, she's very impressive. I was impressed with her. I don't know who she is, if I'm being honest, but she had great answers. Let's listen to this real quick.
Is this all worth it?
What is worth it?
So Trump wanted to deport 10 million people. Like, obviously, that's a pipe dream. That's not going to happen, right? Okay. So it's not going to happen. So you're going to get, 200, 300, 400,000 people doing it the way they're doing it right now. Woman dead in Minnesota.
Because she charged an ICE agent with her car. Oh my goodness.
We can differ about that.
I think the answer is yes.
The question is all of this worth it?
Yes, our sovereignty is worth it every single day.
Our sovereignty isn't under any attack.
Yeah.
We had literally millions of people cross under Biden. That's called attacking. That's an invasion. No. I understand that you don't care about borders, but some Americans.
I actually care about the Constitution.
I think the Republicans are
Does the Constitution allow you to just cross the border and violate a social compact?
Hold on a second.
Is this all worth it?
So the guy is making, I was half listening, and then I was also reading comments over here. Disciple of Christ, 1976 said, and let me pull this up so that everybody can see it, because this is an interesting comment. This is what people with kids, this is the kind of thing they're dealing with. She said, my daughter sent me a video of this earlier today from a radical leftist on TikTok, and there is no shortage of radical leftists on TikTok. I think we all know that. And I said, you better quit getting your news from TikTok before you turn into Democrat libtard. It's so great because, and that's so true, because I guess you would call it it's not the shorts culture, but people are consuming so much data off of shorts and reels and TikTok. And a lot of shorts and reels are just recycled TikToks, things that did well. And so they get the dopamine hit, but they're getting a lot of things out of context, and they get those short messages that fire up their give them the endorphins and give them a dopamine hit. And it's not actual information. It's the worst place in the world. If you're getting all your information from shorts and reels, you are in the wrong place. We have to get our culture back to some sort of long form conversation type communication. Communicating, you can have some effective communication through shorts, but you're never going to get the full picture. Charlie Kirk was great at it. Charlie Kirk was great at the shorts, at reels, at TikTok. He was getting hundreds of millions of interactions and views on TikTok. He was absolutely the number one guy on TikTok for conservatism. He was very successful at it, but that still doesn't tell the whole story. It only gives people things in snippets. So that was just a great point that you made, and I had to, from the comments, and I had to absolutely had to highlight that because it's a very real situation for a lot of people. And as folks are coming on, I would ask all of you, feel free to go ahead and get down in the chat because we usually have a pretty good chat, a pretty live chat, and hit all the important buttons on the channel. It helps us out a whole lot. So this guy was saying, no, our sovereignty isn't a concern. He was also saying that, we're only going to get 800,000 or a few 100,000, 300,000, whatever it is, actually deported by the processes currently being used by ICE and the Trump administration. And that what's also been reported are the self-deportations. We can't take that out of the equation. Self-deportations it's over 1 million. Some estimates that I've seen are as high as 2 million. We're getting a lot of people that are self-deporting because all that biometric data, when they are captured by ICE and they are detained and they are taken to a facility, there's going to be biometric data collected on those people. And when you get that biometric data, you can use it the next time you capture them if they sneak into the country again. Well, people don't want they don't want to have a record here in the U.S., so they just self-deport. They say, I'll go back, and I find that ironic in and of itself or interesting rather, because it was so bad that they had to come here to America, and yet they will voluntarily go back to wherever it was they came from, no questions asked, and just sneak in later, right? It's really strange. So when the Commander Bovino, he's doing I'm not even going to get to Commander Bovino. Let's go to back to the Democrats. Let's go back to talking about the left. Eric Swalwell, it's getting violent is what it is. So in these cities, in Minneapolis and other places, it's getting violent, but it's going to the problems for ICE and the people who are actually serving the American people. It's going to get worse over time because this is the type of rhetoric coming from a guy who's running for governor. Check this out.
So we're watching what ICE is doing with their own eyes. We saw that woman be shot with her own eyes. And what I've said as governor is I will use the powers of the office. If you're going to wear a mask as an ICE agent in your state, I will take away your driver's license. If you work for ICE, you will be unhirable in the state. If you're going to work for fascists, forget about working in the state. So we are not weak. We have to go on offense. Otherwise, the most vulnerable in our communities are on defense. And I urge every governor to start protecting their people in their state that way.
Do you think every ICE agent on the streets is a fascist?
I think that if you continue to work for them now, seeing what they're doing, dragging women by their hair through the streets, deporting a 4-year-old, battling stage 4 cancer, shooting a mother in the face 3 times, if you still work for them, that's a choice. No one's forcing you to do that. I don't want you working in the state.
So he's saying that if you are ICE and you wear a mask, he's going to have your driver's license taken away in California. Like what level? And they call us the fascists. We know why ICE has to wear masks. ICE has to wear masks because the left will dox them. This is just a fact. If they find out who those people are, and they will, because their internet sleuthing is, there's millions of them, millions of these lunatic people, and they will dox these ICE agents. And when they dox them, they will go to their houses. They'll do it to the vice president. I really dislike Eric too, Tracy. Eric is no bueno. He's bad. But yeah, they will go to the ICE agents' houses and they will threaten their families. They will threaten their kids. Heck, they were doing it to the vice president of the United States. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. It was pretty funny. They were banging pots and pans, the left was, outside of a hotel where they thought J.D. Vance was staying just to keep him awake. They didn't want the guy to go to sleep. Not that this is doxing, but this is them, So this is what they were doing to try and keep the vice president from sleeping. What's hilarious about this is J.D. Vance reposted this, by the way. That's where it came from, with just a laughing emoji. He said, LMAO, this was Johnny Maga who wrote, libs in Minneapolis are currently standing outside a hotel in minus 15-degree weather, banging pots and pans, playing instruments to keep J.D. Vance from sleeping inside his hotel. Little do they know, J.D. Vance landed back in D.C. 5 hours ago. So they're standing out in the freezing cold thinking J.D. Vance is there and J.D. Vance is in D.C. Oh, my goodness. But, look, if they find out where somebody lives, this sort of thing will happen in residential areas. It'll happen, in neighborhoods where multiple people are going to be affected by it because they don't care. They have, These aren't civilized people that we're dealing with. And as I said, with the violence, the left, it hypes them up. This is why the mainstream media goes with these false narratives, why they push these false narratives so hard, because it, just like the TikToks and the shorts that we were talking about in the comments, just like it juices their brain, gets the endorphins and everything going. Repetitive, you hear these things repetitively, and the ones that are already violent, the ones that are aggressive, they're going to continue to get more aggressive. And here's a report from the Post Millennial, which my usual shout out, if you are new here, the Post Millennial is a fantastic media outlet. So just go to thepostmillennial.com. I'm not sponsored or anything by them. Obviously, I'm a small channel. I don't have sponsors, but you guys are my only sponsors. But anyway, go check out the Post Millennial. They're great. But anti-ICE agitators bring U-Haul van with shields and gear to Minneapolis Federal Building, attempt to impede the feds. ICE ERO, according to the ICE ERO head. So a top ICE official revealed in a Friday press conference that agitators have descended upon Minneapolis Whipple Federal Building. Insurrection. In an effort to impede immigration enforcement activities. Marcos Charles, the acting executive associate director of ICE enforcement and removal operations, said moments ago a group of agitators, a U-Haul van filled with shields and gear, decided to come over here to the Whipple building and block traffic. They are currently trying to impede us from getting out of the building and going to do our mission. My goodness. And here's some footage of it. So this was posted also on X. Here is some footage of the, where we can call this, yes, they're shields, but let's use that's using that term very loosely. They're cutting these buckets in half. So the 55-gallon buckets, they're cutting them in half and using them as shields. But we know what they're capable of. We saw cities burn in 2020. We watched entire cities burn. Family businesses lost forever because of these people. These are not civilized people. They are not. And do we think that it could get violent? Yes, we know that it can. And we've got a storm coming in, so that's going to slow them down a bit. This winter storm is going to slow them down a bit. And so some momentary reprieve for the people of Minneapolis and other parts of the country. But at the end of the day, these people will get violent. And it's what the Democrats want. They want this desperately because they can blame it on Donald Trump and say, this wouldn't be happening if Donald Trump was less of a fascist. This wouldn't be happening if Donald Trump wasn't evil. This wouldn't be happening if the right wasn't, supporting fascists in ICE. If they weren't putting people in concentration camps. You pick your excuse, your rhetoric, whatever you want to use. They will find some way to gin everybody up, and these folks are ready for it because they're also being paid. We've talked about that on this show. George Soros he's footing the bill for these people. Okay. Here's another piece. Let's see. If people ever want to know why we want these people deported, we have examples of it around the globe. And this is Bill Maher. You can hear it from him. I've gone through the stats on some of these countries, but he did a pretty good rundown, so I'm going to share it with you guys.
Sweden opened its borders to over 1.5 million immigrants since 2010. And now 20% of its citizens are foreign-born, and its education system is tanking, and it has Europe's highest rate of gangland killings. And one result is that the far-right parties are in the government now there for the first time. To which liberals say blaming immigrants for the rising crime rate is racist. Yeah, but is it true? Of course it's true. It's not a coincidence the quality of life went down after the Somali gangs started a drug turf war using hand grenades. Calling it racist doesn't solve the problem.
There you go. The leftist argument is, I guess it's reductive is the way I would put it, but the left is saying that it's racist. The left, that they go to just simple terms like that. It's fascist, it's racist, whatever. But is it true? Is it accurate that there are neighborhoods around America who are worse off because of a massive influx of illegal immigrants? Yes. I reported on the city, or it was back during the Biden administration. So it's been, I don't know, about a year and a half ago, I guess. And it was a small Midwestern city that had something like 25,000 people. And all of a sudden, they were awash with about 40,000 illegal immigrants. The city was entirely unable to support that burden of these people. And it was being done, we also talked about that it was being done by a lot of nonprofits who masquerade as these benevolent organizations, but are actually part of a human trafficking effort that was going on in the U.S., getting people from the border embedded into other parts of the country. And now we're seeing the fraud that comes from the Somalis. We saw $700 million in cash pulled out of Minneapolis and sent down to Somalia. We have seen billions of dollars in fraud for the social safety net that they should have no access to. $9 billion just out of one state. And it's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to get worse. And we can watch when cultural capture, when it happens in places like Sweden, it's happening in France, it's happening in the UK, it's happening in Germany. These people just open their borders. This globalist idea that there should be no borders and that we should all exist however we want to exist, it's only met with destruction. Borders are, exactly. This is a great point too. I've had this conversation with a couple of buddies of mine, that God is a God of nations. And this is true. The Bible is chock full of references to nations, and a nation has to have borders. We have them not because we hate the people on the outside, but because we love the ones on the inside. Again, another great point. You're on a roll tonight. Let's see. Chris Peyote, a.k.a. Ordinary People. He's a retired FBI agent who's a like-minded thinker like us. He has a YouTube channel. Okay, I'll check him out. I've never heard of him. Chris Peyote. I'll pull that from the comments after this, and I'll try to reach out to him. I've tried to reach out to several creators to say, hey, do you want to do some collaborations? Nothing back yet. I'm still a small channel, so people sometimes need to feel there's going to be a mutual benefit to it. And, I'm 1,400 subscribers right now, so eventually people will. But no, I appreciate the reference. That'll be good. That'll be great. This one is, you asked the question, Tracy, I wonder who paid for the shields. Again, the nonprofits, the people like Soros, they're funneling, it's a money laundering scheme. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's quite a racket. It is. Hundreds of millions. In fact, let me see if I can find the clip that a buddy of mine showed me, and I played it on the Braver Than the Rest podcast the other day. I'll have to pull it out of my Evernote and see if I can find it. But it was highlighting all the, like the Tides Foundation and George Soros and all of his, nefarious goings on, all of his nefarious nonprofits. Let's see. I think I've got it in here. Let me see. Maybe I don't have it. Oh, man, I thought I had it. Okay. Well, either way, it laid out the hundreds of millions of dollars that are involved in this disruption campaign. So it's very much a globalist movement. It's the globalists who are doing this. A world without borders. A world without borders is, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. So when people, there's going to be some comeuppance for some of these people. I think that this doesn't err on the side of defamation when it comes to spreading false information about ICE agents, about the detentions, about Donald Trump's intent, about whether or not what he's doing is legal or not. That these things they don't air. There's no defamation as far as that goes. But on the outside, for the other commentators, defamation is a very real thing for some of these people. And I know that TPUSA, they recently started issuing cease and desist letters to people who were defaming their organization. And now there's a kid who he appeared on, I guess he is the son of two famous people. I forget what his parents' names were. They said he was the son of some famous folks. Anyway, he actually had to do a retraction. And the news outlets who have tussled with Donald Trump in the past, they've taken notice. And this is I hate the fact that we're such a litigious society, but there are times where it's necessary. And Donald Trump has wielded that, these the legal system in his favor by suing a lot of these people, and they've paid him millions of dollars, millions in damages. And this kid got the memo. Check this out.
He's basically playing risk because people hurt his feelings, or people ostensibly hurt his feelings. So I am appreciative that the president is being transparent about this. I would love it if he was more transparent about the human sex trafficking network that he was a part of, but you can't win them all.
Cameron's grateful that the president is being transparent about the Nobel Peace Prize and his desires for Greenland. Scott, what do you think about that?
You gonna let that sit? Are we gonna claim here on CNN that the president is part of a global sex trafficking ring, or?
Well,
I mean,
we're going to talk about the Epstein file. Scott, I will do the fact checking as we go along here. Repeat what you said about the global sex trafficking ring.
That Donald Trump was provably very involved with it.
Okay, we'll get to that later. I mean, Donald Trump has never been charged with any crimes in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. But we
but let's be adults here.
We'll talk about Epstein files later.
Serious.
Satisfied?
And he's basically playing risk.
So basically, the guy had to offer a retraction. It was, I mean, hilarious. He got the call. CNN came out and said, hey, you cannot say this. You cannot make those accusations because Donald Trump is, look, he wields this legal system like a heavy club, and he's good at it. I just saw, by the way, down here in the comments, John B79. I did not realize. I changed my thumbnail at the very last minute, and I typed it so fast, and I slung it out there. Thank you for catching that. I appreciate it, because that is not a word. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Who in the world does that? That was quite an oversight on my part. Oh, boy. Well, that's okay. I can change it later. My goodness. Misspelling things in the thumbnail. Thanks for pointing it out. Yeah, Stephanopoulos, you're exactly right. Down in the comments, that was Tracy. Tracy came on and said, remember what happened to Stephanopoulos. There we go. I don't think I can change my thumbnail right now. It's going to bug me now that you mentioned it. Who was it? I'm sorry. Hey, Niles, welcome back to the comment section. John, it's going to eat away at my brain that I didn't change that. Oh, let me see if I can do it real quick. It only takes a minute. My goodness. February 7th, here we go. Let's see. Live. Yeah, okay, good. Here we go. I can change it. Oh, there we are. Media, there we go. Save it. Now we're good. Let that cycle through the internet. Media. All right, there we go. Now, back on track. Whew, thank you guys for bearing with me. I wouldn't have been able to tolerate it if I knew that was still hanging out there. Anyway, you're right. So what a fool he is. Remember what happened to Stephanopoulos. That's right. Trump has gone after a boatload of these people. Stephanopoulos has, he's taken the brunt of it. Who else was there? Because he's gone after, I think, he's gone after CNN. He's gone after NBC, I believe. Slopadopoulos. Yeah. Well, the other point I was going to make, Slopadopoulos, this kid, he's a prime example of people who don't understand how this works. You know what I'm saying? These young people who think that, I can just say anything and everything that I want to, and that's just not the way it works. That just ain't the way it works. And these news outlets understand that, hey, we're a corporate media outlet. There's certain restrictions on us. And this kid says, I'm just going to come up here and run roughshod over all that stuff. I don't really care. What do I care about what happens to CNN? Well, because, anyway. All right. What else have we got here? Let me pull this one down. Okay. This one's actually, let's see, the Murdochs he sued. Yeah, did he get the Murdochs as well? Did he sue Rupert Murdoch? I had forgotten about that. Let's see. No, I was told it was a town. Balkan, we can't find any on the map. Let's see. I'm looking at some comments here. Scott Jennings didn't say anything. CNN would get Yeah. Scott Jennings, you guys hear me repeat it, and I will continue to do so. Oh my gosh. Don't do that. Bro, I'm not going to put that onto the screen. Self-drive. I don't trust that, man. He's self-driving. Don't do that. Oh, it's hilarious. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Davos very briefly. And in particular, I want to talk about Scott Bessent. I know I've played many clips from him, but he has kind of, maybe this was his instructions from Donald Trump, or were his instructions from Donald Trump, is go out here and really just do what you can. Take your airtime and go after Gavin Newsom. And this is precisely what Scott Bessent has been doing. Here we go.
Cracking up with some of these things he's saying. I think he may be in over his hairdo. And being on the national stage is very different than being governor of California with no signature achievements. But to say strange things like President Trump is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, what the hell does that mean? I could say Gavin Newsom is a brontosaurus with a brain the size of a walnut. And if he brought the knee pads, maybe that was for his meeting with Alex Soros. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. It's kind of awkward. He's a little awkward when he does it. It's like a guy who's trying to be funny, but I guess you would say it's like dad humor. Maybe it's like dad humor. This is one. Here we go. Let's play another one. This is very entertaining.
Lack of energy security from this manic push for net zero, which I think we've seen in some recent scientific journals has been pushed back. Even Bill Gates is saying 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees. I'm not sure it matters. If you look at what he's doing with his own money, it looks like he believes we're going to innovate our way out of any perceived climate problems. So I think that's on one side. And then again, I think we almost reached a Saturday Night Live moment a few years ago when it was, you're not going to own anything, you're going to eat insects. I mean, it was just the inmates were running the asylum at that point.
You're not into the bugs?
Well, I can tell you, after a few days of Swiss German food, I may switch to bugs. I'm bringing
brutal, Mr. Secretary.
But I find it interesting when people try to say Donald Trump and his administration are part of the globalists. It's really such a silly argument because they go to the home of the globalists. They go to Davos, and it's been nothing but insulting the Soroses, their little acolytes, people like Gavin Newsom. They're just running roughshod over them. So it's an argument that you can't make, at least from a rhetorical standpoint. You can't make the argument that these people side with the globalists. Scott Bessent was talking about owning nothing. This has been their battle cry for these leftists, these socialists, these borderless globalists for a long time. It's you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. We're better at managing your happiness than you are. It's just like the federal government with taxation. They believe that they are better at handling your own money than you are. And that, if we had more money in our pocket, would we be more charitable? Yeah, we probably would. We absolutely would. And we would take care, as we're called to, as in communities or in churches or whatever, we would be taking care of our fellow neighbors. But the government says, no, we want to have that power and authority over the people. So we're just going to go ahead and take your money. We're a better steward of your dollars than you are. And this is how you get what we've got, this massive social safety net that used to be done by neighborhoods. It used to be done by people in a community. We took care of our own. Now we don't feel the need to because we've got soup kitchens on every corner. A lot of them getting government money. They're taking boatloads of cash, pumping it into, social safety nets and welfare systems that are getting robbed by illegal immigrants and other people. The government says, yeah, this is as it should be. And that's just ridiculous. We watch it and there's nothing we can do about it right now other than vote accordingly. Let's see. Yes, they are. Trump and Vance are both humorous. Yeah. Vance is hilarious. He's, Trump was a boss at Davos. We played some of the clips. I guess it was yesterday. We played some of his speech and he sharpened his elbows before he went up there. He wasn't holding anything back. Somebody else was talking about how he does these. It's almost like a compliment sandwich. He says, I love these people. I respect these people, but you suck. You're terrible at this. You're terrible at that. They're wrecking their country. They're wrecking their country. Oh, but I like them as a person. I think they're good. I think they're a good guy. But, whatever. Your country's falling apart and this, that, and the third. So it's like a compliment sandwich that he does. He does it very effectively. I've never had British food. Sorry, it's from the comments. I've heard horrible things. I have heard horrible things. All right, the last thing I'm going to play, and it's just a few minutes of a clip, and let's see, and that is Howard Lutnick. He was talking about speaking at Davos, and you're never going to believe who booed him. One guy, there was 200 people at his speech, and you're never going to believe, here we go, this is who booed him. Listen to him talk about it.
What happened, Mr. Secretary?
So I wrote an op-ed in the FT, and it basically said that globalists, offshoring all our manufacturing to cheap labor around the world had failed, and that the World Economic Forum was a failure. But I wrote that op-ed, and so at the end of this lefty, basically a very left set of talks where someone said we need a new form of capitalism, which I think is another way to say communism. And then they let me speak at the end. Then I gave a 3-minute talk. And I just talked about my op-ed. And at the end of my talk, one person out of the 200 yelled out, "Boo!" So I look over and I'm like, who booed? And it's Al Gore. And I look at him, I go, really? And he goes, "Boo." And I'm like, it was the greatest honor of my trip to Davos. I mean, what's better than Al Gore, incapable of discourse, incapable of anything? And you all remember that Al Gore told us that by today, in 2025, the whole ice cap would be gone and Greenland would be green.
Now it's red, white, and blue. So the joke's on Al Gore. So Secretary, tell us.
Oh, that's fantastic. Al Gore booing you. I would love to have Al Gore boo me. Hop on, Al. You're more than welcome. You can boo in the comments. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's great. Okay, let's get to comments. I've been getting to them as we're scrolling through some of this. Let's see. Oh, okay. So Niles asks, a carrier strike group is in position. Do you think a strike is coming within the next 48 hours? I hadn't seen that. Let me see. Carrier strike group. Is this for Iran? Is that what you're talking about? Carrier strike group. U.S. military, let's see, fleet and marine, January 20th. Trump sends Abe Lincoln, what is this, to Middle East to keep Iran honest. I don't know. I couldn't predict that one way or another, but it could just be a threat. It could just be a threat. They're trolling around the ocean all the time, and it would have a cooling effect for somebody like Iran. Here, I'll pull this up, and I'll give you the New York Post's version of it. Here we go. So this is as of today. Trump sends the USS Abe Lincoln carrier group to the Middle East to keep Iran honest. He says that he's got an armada. Let's see. He's got an armada was sailing towards Iran, and he meant the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group. Okay, so on Thursday, the commander-in-chief told reporters that maybe we won't have to use the carrier strike group, but that the U.S. had a lot of ships going in Iran's direction just in case. At least 132,000 tons of U.S. Navy hardware is steaming towards the Middle East, including the nuclear-powered Abe and 3 guided missile destroyers. The Nimitz-class aircraft carrier is hauling 5 squadrons of strike fighters with a max capacity of 90 aircraft. Let's see. The Republican Alex. So do I think that this is indicative of a strike? I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. Honestly, Trump is a hard one to predict. I hope not. I hope that, I'm always fearful of these engagements getting worse and that these engagements will ultimately turn into a long-term conflict. Trump has no interest in doing that, but not everybody, I believe that. I think he's talked about stopping war, not starting war. And while he's made some attacks on other countries, Do I think that he's interested in getting us embroiled in a massive conflict in Iran? No, I don't think that he is. But I think the potential for him to use, if they're guided missile destroyers, then we're talking about Tomahawks and other things that can really reach out and touch somebody from a distance. They know that. Will they settle down? Possibly. It could just be just a visual deterrent. So I don't know. I know I'm kind of dilly-dallying around the question, but it's because I don't know. And hopefully this doesn't turn into a bigger conflict. I don't think it will, by the way. I'm pretty confident in Donald Trump at this point. I approach it all with some skepticism. I'm going to continue to approach him and his diplomatic style with skepticism, but it has been successful. It's kind of hard to question the guy based off the successes that he has had. So I'm just going to take into consideration that he knows exactly what he's doing. Let's see. Yeah, this is interesting. So you guys are talking about Al Gore and Jennifer. I see that you made the comment. Oddly enough, Clinton back then would be a Republican now, except for that assault rifle ban nonsense. You are just this is how far we've moved politically. How polarized we've become. You know, if you're middle of the road, you can't really be a Democrat anymore. Their platform. Look at Spanberger in Virginia. I played it yesterday. She gets into office, and it's let's do everything that they've done poorly in every other Democrat city and make it policy here in Virginia or there in Virginia. I don't live in Virginia anymore. It's really crazy. So, yeah, you're 100% right that these old school Democrats, I say old school, back in the 90s, they'd be Republicans today. 100%. Let's see. What happened to global warming? That's not a thing anymore. Tracy, it's not global warming, it's climate change, right? That loops in everything. It's not global warming, it's climate change. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'm going backwards through the comments now. But used to support Clinton and Gore. You know what's interesting? During that era, when I was in I was in elementary school, I think, when they were in. Or was I in? Yeah, I would have been in, I guess, elementary school in the early 90s and all that. We used to have mock elections at school, and we'd kind of shrug our shoulders, Who are you voting for? Bush or Clinton? And I'd be like, oh, I'm Bush all the way, because my family, they were Republicans. And other people would say, I'm voting for Clinton. And say, oh, okay. And then you go outside and you play together. Now you tell people I voted for Donald Trump, and some mentally deficient kid who's on a bunch of SSRIs or whatever is going to come and want to bash your head in because you're supporting Hitler. It's intentional. How we know it's intentional, Yeah. And what's fun is to go and play all of the, all those clips of these people back in the day, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, these dinosaurs who have been in politics forever. And you listen to them talk and you say, what happened to you, guy? What? Where'd your life go wrong? Where did your life go wrong? Yeah, no, this is it. Trump, it's when he came down the escalator. That's when it all changed. It was a golden opportunity to have a guy who was outside the system. He was friendly with the system because he was friendly with all the politicians and the pundits and the people who were influential in politics. And then you're right, when he came down that escalator, it was they said this guy hasn't been, he's not held captive by anybody over here in the uniparty, anybody over here in the deep state. We can't let this guy get in office. So they came out and told the American people he's never going to get into office. And then when he does, they throw a hissy fit. They're like, this is nuts. Are you kidding me? How in the world did we have an actual election where a non-unipartian was put in office? And that's right. It has just continued. Let's see. Biden was pro-life at one time. Yeah, and so was Obama. Obama was anti-immigration. They were all anti-immigration. No, there has to be law and order. There's video of Hillary Clinton and Chuck Schumer and Barack Obama. And, you pick your left-wing politician that is still active today. And at one point or another, they all said, we have to have strong borders. This is the way it works. Not anymore. How things change. Yeah, my family never talked about politics until Trump, Day. That's, I think that's probably the case with a lot of people. And it wasn't, it became part of, I don't want to say part of the education system, but it became part of the culture, right? Because we are in the middle of a culture war. And let me see. Oh, I put a timer on these things so that they come down automatically. I don't like that. Yeah, we are in the midst of a culture war. And when politics and culture became intertwined, now everybody, the left wants people to have purity tests. And in some cases on the right, you have to have these political purity tests where, are you worthy of being a friend, a family member, a life mate, or whatever. You have to pass those political purity tests, and that just divides us even further because it's a good versus evil thing. I think that there are people like on the left, as an example, you could look at Antifa. What Antifa is doing is illegal. Antifa is the militant wing of the Democrat Party. We all know that for a fact, that they are jazzed up and, juiced up and put into action by Democrat politicians. And, the things they are doing are evil. Like, it is evil to burn down somebody's business. It is, even in some cases, the rhetoric for people in particular who know better, who should know better. It is evil for them to intentionally deceive people. But at the end of the day, the people on the left, they're just listening to what they're told, and that's shaping their worldview. They're not evil people, but the things that they are supporting are. I could make the case for abortion. Obviously, that I believe that is an illegal or an evil thing. So anyway, but they see it on the right. There is no justifiable stance you can take to be a right-wing person. So they take it to the ultimate extreme, an extreme that we never do. I'm not surprised. Day. I'm the only Trump supporter in my house, and it can be lonely. Oh, man. That's a bummer. That is a real bummer. Golly, that'd be very difficult. But, this too shall pass. It's at least we can sit and I have people that I'm very close to. Nobody in my, immediate family that is kind of a lefty, but I have friends who they are very lefty. And I'll be honest, we had to come to agreements. If we were going to stay friends at all, we just can't talk politics. And it's kind of hard, it's very difficult. Cause like I say, it is part of the culture. You have to find things to talk about outside of cultural topics, because everything is patriarchy or it's fascism or it's whatever. Yeah. Ultimately when Trump leaves, I think people will calm him down. People never cared like this about politics until Trump came along. Yeah, maybe, but I don't know that the left will want to let things calm down. I don't think they actually want it to settle. I think they want to keep everybody, amped up and pissed off. It's a great way for them to divide us and to wield power when we're divided. Yeah, so good. Only when Trump leaves. Let's see. What else have we got? Okay, I think I've come to the end of the comments. I hope I haven't missed anything. I apologize if I had. I appreciate you guys, and if you are a new person that's part of this stream, welcome. I'm appreciative for all you guys. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time I release a new video. Guys, if you're in the path of this weather, I'll be praying for you guys. I'm praying for a lot of people. This is going to be brutal. It's going to be terrible. So take care. Take the right precautions. Let's see. Oh my goodness. That is sad, Tracy. Sorry, I'm just looking down at the comments. Wow. Can I put that comment up, Tracy? This is the thing. It's a comment about, it's talking about family, because after the fact, I don't think my chat stays up. Like the live chat doesn't play with the replay of the video, but it is sad. There are a lot of families who are, who are divided around politics. And that's such a silly thing, because family, I think part of it is intentional from the left, from academia. I don't know that they are saying we have to destroy the family via politics, but they certainly don't hold the family in high regard. And, for families to be torn apart or for relationships to be broken because of politics, that's such a sad thing, because that is the ultimate unit in this world that holds a country together. Strong family units hold a country together. Strong family units help people through, stress and struggle and hard times in their lives, all that. So if there's divisions inside of the household, that should not be the case. It's heartbreaking when that happens. It's heartbreaking. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to pop off of here. Thank you all so much. Is it Squatchy in Knoxville? I don't know what okay. Tracy, I'm going to put this clip up here. She says, I have cried many tears, especially when I was told I have nothing in common with my husband's son and daughter. That's a very hard situation to be in. So I definitely feel for you, Tracy. And as I said before, these, strong family units, that we should not let politics get in the way of that. And if politics is an issue, then it's just, don't talk politics. But my goodness, or at least that's what I would do. I would say, okay, I'm not going to talk politics. I know other people who are in similar situations, though, and it can put a long-term strain on people. So sorry you're going through that, Tracy. That's tough. That's very tough. Yeah, and that's the other part, community, talking through those sorts of things. I don't know if you're in a church or not, but that would be a great place to go, to find a resource to, figure out how to navigate that. There's a lot of resources online. I'm always going to recommend people go find Christian resources to help them get through stuff like that. And yeah, obviously I'm not a person who is capable of helping someone resolve that situation, but there's a lot of Christian resources online, because just like Niles was saying, since Trump came down the escalator, we've become very polarized, and we're all consuming different content. We all have our own individual algorithms, and when those algorithms are pushing us things that might shape worldviews, if we're shaping worldviews on our own as opposed to, with other people, this is why I sit and talk about this stuff every now and then with my wife. I want her to be, on the same plane that I am, on the same, having the similar conversations, and we align, almost across the board on everything, but there's a lot of places where we have differences, and we can talk through those differences. It's about having a healthy relationship around that sort of stuff. So, yeah, there we go. Well, that's right. We love you, Tracy. Sorry you're having to deal with that, but, okay. You guys, again, I'm going to end the show on this. Please be safe if you're in the path of this weather. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a great Friday evening. God bless. Oh, sorry. If you watch this far, I might not be on tomorrow, depending on power, whether or not we have power here in East Tennessee. So God bless, guys.